Dimitrios, I'm very happy, first of all, to be chosen to be here as your ex-student. You've been always my role model, a beloved colleague and very good friend. And I would like to congratulate you. That is one of the most important awards because it reflects the renal patients at large in the form of the Kidney Foundation.
Dr. Oreopoulos has made a huge contribution, so it's only fitting that such an award would be named after him. And he would be very proud of that, you know. He'll be, and we're all proud because we're proud of what he's done.
When I first came here in the early 70s, I was given as an area of expertise the peritoneal dialysis program. It was a very small program. It was patients were coming once a week, and they were kind of being treated by intermittent punctures. And they did not have much option because the hemodialysis program was a very small program, and only if somebody was dying there somebody would move to that program.
Yes, my wife, Annalisa, who was born in Finland, had a long history of kidney cancer, having had her first kidney removed in 1973, and then the second kidney came under attack in 1991, and 1/3 of the second kidney came out then. In 1993, a third of the kidney came out, and in 1997, the final piece of the second kidney came out. She then went on hemodialysis, and she had a very difficult, almost 1-year period on hemodialysis because of hypertension, high blood pressure, all the way up to grand mal seizures. It was a very difficult situation. So the decision was made that we should try peritoneal dialysis. And that's when Dr. Oreopoulos fortunately came into our lives.
He was involved in peritoneal dialysis in its infancy, and he was a major proponent of it when people were perhaps very unsure as to whether this form of dialysis would ever be useful for the patient. So he really made it his own, and he's done research and spoken on every aspect related to peritoneal dialysis, everything from the most basic clinical issues to molecular biology of the peritoneal membrane. He's just been involved in everything. He's also, again, coming back to his charisma, a very charismatic speaker. And I think those two issues, his charisma and the fact that he was involved in everything having to do with peritoneal dialysis, was responsible for his being invited all over the world to talk.
Dimitrios has always been ahead of his time. He was a mentor by example. Even being with him, you would change and follow his lead. He was a person who was working quite hard, had tenacity to finish what he was doing. He was one of the few people that I know that he would always finish even the most insignificant task in the eyes of others. He was dedicated to his patients, very compassionate.
Brilliance. I think he's a super smart person and very creative. That's a gift. It's something different, as you know, from brilliance. He's just got a very creative mind. He's also, he's one of the hardest workers I know. And no matter what time I ever left to go home, however late I stayed, he was there later. I don't think I ever saw him go home from work before me. So you just put together the creativity, the brilliance, and the capacity for hard work and to finish things. And I think you have a recipe that explains his success.
A, he was smart, and B, he worked at least 10 or 11 every night. He was up, if you ever went down to the hospital at 11 o'clock, he'd be around there, you know, so I thought, well, we should keep this guy around. I think he'd be all right.
My wife was in the final stages in 2008, and her disease had been advancing. And we had a meeting up at Sunnybrook Hospital where she was because she'd had a fall, broken her hip, gone through hip fracture surgery. And we had a meeting with her oncologist, Dr. George Bjarnason, and Dr. Oreopoulos. And the meeting was held to decide what her future was. And Dr. Oreopoulos was very clear at the time, saying that the time has come where there's not much more that we can do, and her disease has advanced, and she should be told that. and he volunteered to go and convey the bad news to her, but I said, no, that's my job, and I would do it. And so my wife went on palliative care, and the decision was made to stop her dialysis. And so for the next 15 days, while she went through the exit process, Dr. Oreopoulos came to see her about every second night on his way home from work, and he would take the time to come all the way up to Sunnybrook to meet with her while she was going through this final process. And I was so impressed by that.
He's been the overarching scientific influence in my life. My life would have been very different had I not met him. I don't know if I would have been in peritoneal dialysis and what kind of turn it would have taken. And he's been a good mentor, and he's always challenged me with his brains and his creativity to be a better scientist. And I really appreciate that. And I think I've told him this before, but you know, he founded the peritoneal dialysis unit, which is just like a jewel. And he handed me this jewel and has been nothing but supportive and helpful for this, and for that I'm really grateful.
He encouraged, of course, all his trainees and the nurses to do academic work and research. And if you accepted the challenge, he would make you follow it and come to the end of it. He would be sadly a little bit harsh on you in a nice way, in a loving way. Some people think, well, he's a loving slave driver. You would feel bad if you didn't, finish your paper. What are you doing here? You have to finish the paper. So in that sense, he was loved and at the same time respected and maybe afraid at times, but it was a combination for that.
It was really big stuff, and because it changed the practice of nephrology all over the world. So it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then he did a lot of research on CAPD. All kinds of papers were written and things, and so I think he's still acknowledged as the king of CAPD.
There's never been a more important time to be focused on kidney disease. What do we want the next 50 years to look like? What are our priorities and how do we get there? And we can only get there with active participation across Canada at all levels.
The Kidney Foundation is doing a great job and has tremendous opportunities now to promote awareness of kidney disease. I think that having a larger share of the fundraising money for research would be very important.
I'm a tremendous beneficiary of the research and the innovative programs, as we all are. That's throughout our communities. The Kidney Foundation's touch when it comes to research. But in my own case, it's the people. It's the people I've met at events and the network that I feel has become my extended family.
It's the people who have had direct contact with the requirement for dialysis or some other medical intervention that really have to take the lead and encourage research and either put up their own money, as I have done, or encourage others to do it, and so on. And they are by far the best ambassadors or salesmen for the development of new technology.
We can still put our goals to have fewer and fewer patients on dialysis, and it's not unreasonable. My vision is on that how we can prevent the progression of renal disease or even the development. And I think that some inroads have been done, because the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years, the number of new patients coming on dialysis is decreasing. And throughout the province, and I think throughout North America, we don't have this dramatic increase. And I think the nephrologists are doing something good in preventing the progression.
It's critical that we address kidney disease, and we do it with a sense of urgency. Number one is research. Research is at the core of everything the Foundation does, finding ways to treat kidney patients, give them a higher quality of life, lengthen their life, and provide a standard of life. So research is at the core, and it's at the core for good reason.
Dimitrios, it's been a real pleasure to have the opportunity to make reference to our great experience in working with you over the last 14 years now. I have really appreciated what you have done for Annalisa and for so many others who have benefited from peritoneal dialysis. But we wish you all the best and very much thank you for everything that you have done for us and for so many others. Thank you.